everybody, it's Amina here, the Happily Imperfect Leader, and today my interview is with a very good friend of mine, Peter Stone, the President and CEO of Peter Stone Group of Companies, based in 4 different countries: Thailand, United Kingdom, United States of America, and Australia. I love to hear the energy that Peter has every time I have a chat with him, and I hope you're going to find it the interview as useful as I've found my interactions with him. So without further ado, I am going to start with saying hi to Peter. Hi Peter, how are you today?
Hello Amina, I'm very well. I'm very well today.
Nice talking to you. If you maybe start by just telling us a bit about yourself and about your business.
Sure. I grew up in Manchester by the Sea in the United States. And the reason I tell you that particular little tidbit is that I grew up on the harbor. I spent time on the harbor since I was a young child. And the significance of spending time on the harbor and having boats since I was 7 years old is that I realized just only 10 years ago that I used to look out over the horizon. And I didn't know what I was looking at until maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And I always wanted to know more about life. I was always curious, what is beyond the horizon? And curiosity, I believe, is what has driven me to build my business. Because I love the sea, I worked on merchant ships and I traveled to over 40 countries on merchant ships as a engineer, first engineering officer at chief engineer's license. But I traveled and I really love the adventure, and I love learning, and I love the cultures. And then I saw opportunity. When I traveled to Southeast Asia, I saw beautiful things that I could bring back to America. And because of that, I never had a business in my life. I started a business. I opened 4 stores in Key West, Florida. And that business did not work because it was seasonal, very seasonal business. It was only busy for 2.5 months a year. The rest of the time we went very hungry. So I closed that business. But what I did notice was someone who came into my store one time. He had jewelry, rings, and he gave me the rings. He was trying to sell them to me. He says, "No, look, I'll leave them here. I'll come back in 2 months, and then whatever you sell, you pay me for. Whatever you don't, just give it back to me." And I said, "Okay." And he came back, and all the rings were sold but 2. And I said, I like this guy. He's out walking around, going to stores. I'm stuck in my store. And so I closed my stores, and I did something I never did in my life. I'm an engineer on merchant ships. I went to Thailand, and I bought some jewelry. And I made a lot of mistakes. I knew nothing of jewelry. But I did know that I wanted to travel, and I did know that I wasn't going to be working on merchant ships much longer because they changed some things. So when the change came, I said to myself, I asked myself a question, and this is something I learned from Tony Robbins, and this is before Tony Robbins, but I asked myself a simple question. I said, how can I continue to travel and make money? And when I did that, I was very expressive, and both hands went out. And I looked at one hand and I said, I could fill that hand with gemstones, put them in my pocket, and travel and sell gemstones. And so I went to gemology school in Bangkok, Thailand. Wow. So I went to the gemology school and I learned all about gemstones in 1989. And I went into the gemstone business and I got beat up. All in New York. I didn't know much about it. I became a gemologist and I learned gemology, but I didn't know the real kind of like cutthroat part of it. And I didn't like that kind of business. I didn't really like that. And what I found out was because 5 years earlier I had tested some silver rings and they sold really fast. So since I couldn't sell, the economy was really bad in '89 in the USA. And it was a bad time to try to sell anything actually in the United States. So it didn't work. And it was a blessing in disguise because it opened up my creativity. And one thing, a really big thing I learned in this journey was, oh, I want this. I got to have this. I want this. I want this. And I don't get it. And then I get upset. And what I learned was I don't get upset anymore. I turned kind of my demands into preferences. And this is what I really prefer to have in my life. But if God or the universe or powers that be have something greater for me, then I'm open for that. So usually, if I don't get what I think I want, Amina, I always get something better. And that's the place I live in. And it keeps me happy. And it keeps me in a space that says, oh, this is interesting. I thought this was going to happen and it didn't. So I wonder what wonderful thing I shall learn from this and what wonderful result will I get that's better than what I actually asked for or what I kind of demanded. Or now it's a preference. Yeah. So it's pretty amazing. So I wanted to sell gemstones. It didn't work. I thought, yeah, I can carry $1 million in my pocket. Not that I was going to do that, in small gemstones and sell them. Well, also put the risk of getting a throat cut, I guess. But so I was forced to go take the gemstones and put them in jewelry. And what happened is I became a jewelry designer. Both my parents were artists, and I have a high engineering IQ. I get numbers and things, and I'm very creative. So fortunately, I started designing jewelry, and it was very rewarding, and I really enjoyed it. So I knew nothing of jewelry, but that didn't stop me. I saw jewelry in Thailand, and I said, I can make it better. Of course, I didn't know anything about jewelry. I had an engineering background, but Amina, what made me kind of successful in my life and still today is my attitude that a few other successful people have shared with me. You know, a few of them. And it's this attitude. I don't know how to do it.
You don't know how to do something, but the attitude. Can you talk a bit more about the attitude, how you use your attitude?
The attitude is, well, I will figure it out. I can figure it out. I'll ask people, I'll do this, I'll do that. I know I can figure it out. And so I started making jewelry, and I used to buy and sell jewelry. And just buying it in Thailand, selling it in America, buying it in Thailand. And the jewelry that I was getting wasn't that good a quality. And I wanted it better. And I went to this one of my customers. I said, well, look, I can't get these people. I gave them my designs. They really messed it up. I'm going to do it myself. He says, what? He's living in Thailand for 15 minutes. Peter, do you know what you're getting yourself into? I said, I have no idea. I said, but Don, I don't care. I'm going to do it because I want to make jewelry my way. I'll figure it out. And my wife got involved, and she was Thai, and she had some connections, and then I did all the selling, and we started building it, and it was a real struggle. And so the reason I started my own business, because I wanted to make jewelry better than the jewelry I was buying. Amina, it got worse because we didn't know what we were doing. A year and a half. And I had sales reps in America. They stuck up for me. They said, don't worry, it'll get better. And guess what, Amina? It got better. got better. I kept on hiring people, and I hired designers and I hired model makers to make the models, original models of the jewelry exactly the way I wanted. Even if I had someone else cast that jewelry for me, my original model was my design, my idea. And fortunately, through the early 80s, the late 80s and early 90s into 99, silver jewelry was really a trend. So I hit this uptrend, and I went from, struggling to get $1,000 to seven figures. And I started with $5,000.
You started your business with $5,000 and now you make millions of dollars. How do you stay motivated with your business?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's ups and downs. There's some days I really want to, like, are you kidding me? I'm tired of this. I'm going to quit and I don't want to do this anymore. And it's been kind of up and down. And when it was really going really, really well, and I had a lot of people, it's going good again. But I had a big challenge in 2008. The price of silver and gold went up 1,000%. So people talk about gasoline and petrol going up and, things stopping. Well, my cost of goods went up 1,000%. So I really struggled between 2008 and 2013. But we stayed in the game. And now, I cut my personnel in Thailand by more than 60%, but they're back up again. I'm close to almost 90% of what I had in the big heyday. But what I found out is I don't need that many people to make this beautiful jewelry now. So it's just persistence. And I just know, I have this knowing, and I have this drive that I love to travel, so I can travel and sell jewelry all around the world. And that's how I met you, traveling. And that's how I opened my business in the UK. I always wanted to go to the UK, and I met a really famous person who wrote 50 books, and we put a gallery together, opened it up in the UK. My family went there, and my daughter went to school, and what an experience. We drove all over Europe. So because the world, I always, discovery is what keeps me energized. Plus a really good diet. I exercise a lot. I breathe. I meditate. I do Qigong, short forms of Qigong. And I don't allow the W word into my consciousness. And Amina, one of the ways I think, like I sculpt my words, and when my words come out, I work to, and I still have to work at it because I've been so geared all through my life. If you look at a dictionary, there are, well, I have to just say it, there are 5 negative words to every 1 positive word in a dictionary. So what I did, I actually rewrote a book on commodity trading that didn't have too much to do with commodity trading. It had everything to do with being in your now moment state and removing the fear and being courageous and having confidence. But what I find in a lot of self-help books, and this particular book, this guy was really good, but he reminded me, I thought, too many times of my past problems and my challenges and the things I want to let go and get off my radar, get them out of my sight and leave them behind me with a fresh, empowering, positive knowing that I can do this. I can do this. Vision that I see and I live in, because if I think about the old stuff, it just pulls me down. And who cares? Let me just, okay, when we have a challenge or a problem, Once we know about that, we should talk about that 2 to 4%. And then the other 98 to 96% in my mind is let's focus on what is the solution, because that's fun.
That is more fun, yes. That's my attitude all the time. I'll worry for a whole 1 minute and then let's look at the solution. Thank you very much for all those. There are lots of lessons in there, and I'm sure the listeners will agree that there's lots of charms that we will pick up from there that we've learned from. Personally, I've already picked up a lot. So if there was the last 3 words that you would want to share with somebody, or something has happened in their life and they've just stopped and they're procrastinating, what are the 3 things that you'd share with them?
I would like to share something, a big thing. It's a really big thing for me, and it may help a couple of your listeners, is when I speak, and some people say, oh, you've got to have darkness to have light, and you've got to have negative to have positive, and just because those words exist in my mind, I don't agree. And what I say is you have to have positive, and then you have to have less than positive, and you have to have light, and you have to have less than light, and you have to have useful and less than useful. So when I am conversing with you, and I say, wow, that situation is really less than useful to me. So what could we do about that? And that's not really very positive. So how can we make this situation more positive? And what words have I repeated again and again? I repeated, but when I'm writing, I'm really careful to write in uplifting words. That keeps me energized. I'm still answering your question. What keeps you energized? All of these things. Yeah. I would say, if you're confused and you're not really sure, or you don't really know what you want in life, and I'll tell you what, I've had many, many, many years of this. When I worked on merchant ships, I thought I wanted to do something else. Would I be a bartender? Would I do this? Would I do that? And being on the sea, I was forced to sit in silence, and I learned solitude. And I learned to find the joy in the solitude, and I still love it today. So I would say someone who is confused like that, turn off the noise, turn off the TV, turn off the radio, and find some silence. And it may take a while to get your mind quiet, but try to connect with yourself and try to feel yourself and know deep down inside, we really know some things we want to do, and make a list of those things that you really would like to do, even if it's 2 or 3. Then I would say to have faith. The reason I got anywhere in my life at all is because I had faith that I could figure something out, I could do something, that I could figure it out, maybe that God would help me or whatever, or the universe, but I just found faith. I had this faith, and it's not the faith, going to church or a religious faith. It's a faith that I could do it. Then that whether I was comfortable or uncomfortable, to observe and listen to someone such as yourself who is doing it, who has done something, and observe them and pay close attention, like I did with Tony Robbins and a few other people, and pay close attention. Find a mentor that you can look at and say, I like what they have. It can be anybody. It doesn't have to be some big guru. It just has to be somebody you respect. Watch them, even talk to them if you can, and listen carefully and do what they do, comfortable or uncomfortable, and then have faith that if you continue to move forward, as uncomfortable as it may be, as many times as you may stumble, and you must persist. I know that's more than three.
That's all right. That's well. That's all right. That's very, very good. Thank you very much for that. So,
My pleasure.
are there any projects? Are there any things that you're releasing that you'd like me to share with my listeners? Where and what your website where they can find details about you?
Sure. I do several different things. I am a certified high performance coach, which is not a main business I have, but I will coach from time to time. I am a consultant because in the 30 years that I've owned the jewelry business, I've had businesses before that, but in the more than 35 years I've done business, I have managed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And I have failed at many things, and I have been successful at a few. So I would say we have to try. Just try. If one thing doesn't work, do another. So in this business of consulting, I've got a lot of experience and I can help a lot of businesses. But the main business I have is peterstone.com, www.peterstone.com, and it's my jewelry business. And because I love this type of thing, speaking with you, I mean, about helping other people, and I feel it's my time as well as you do to help people along the pathway because I've been through so much junk, upside, downside. I felt so much pain. And as I mentioned to you, I, at one time, looked up to see the bottom of my life. Not, I hit the bottom. I looked up to see the bottom. And I was hurting. And I just decided I wasn't going to take it. And I'm just going to make changes. So what I have been working on for the last 2.5 years is I am setting up a seminars to launch in the spring of 2018. I have a TV show called Stepping Up and Stepping Out, making 2017 your best year yet, and a podcast. And all of this ties together with serving mankind. So I said, how can I make my jewelry business tie into that? And my jewelry has not been about shiny bits of diamonds and just making money. I made money because I wanted to travel and sell jewelry around the world. And my jewelry, as you'll see at www.peterstone.com, is a lot of spiritual jewelry. It's energetic, it's symbolic, and it has meaning and energy. And everyone from the people who make it to the people who wear it must feel that energy at some level. That is the Peter Stone jewelry. And what I just recently shared with you is after 2.5 years of trying to figure this darn thing out, that I am making empowering word jewelry, words that you synchronize with, that you live by. Like, I'm going to be confident today, or I won't quit, or I'm going to persist. And those words I am engraving on jewelry. And so you can wear that power wherever you go. So you can carry your message into your day, into your week, into your life. And I'm doing that launch in the middle of September. It will be online.
Thank you very much for the interview today. I have learned a lot. I'm sure my listeners will agree with me. We have learned so much from you, and we hope to have you again sometime with your next project, or to share some more of the nuggets from you in the few years that you've experienced, and lots of other things that you've learned. So thank you very much, Peter Stone. And I'm just going to end the interview by thanking all the listeners that will tune into this. Please subscribe to my channel, The Happily Imperfect Leader. It's on YouTube and on iTunes. But also, please visit www.peterstone.com and get that empowering jewelry that he has on there. And I will keep you updated with all the bits that are coming in. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Peter.
Amina, thanks very much for inviting me, and thanks everyone who's listening. We look forward to having another chat at some point in the future.